The porch light flickered just once as the knock landed on the door. And in that brief, electric pause, Aaron Cole felt his entire life tilt off balance, like a plate slipping from a tired hand. 5 minutes earlier, he had been standing in his kitchen, socks mismatched, phone buzzing beside a sink full of dishes, realizing with horror that the flirty text meant for no one in particular had gone to someone very specific, very powerful, and very unreachable. Now she was outside his house, and the night suddenly felt too quiet, as if it were holding its breath to see what he would do next. What if this happened to you, after a long day of holding everything together by a thread? Would you hide, or would you open the door and face whatever came next? Aaron was a single father in a small Ohio town, the kind of place where everyone waved but few really asked how you were doing. His mornings began before sunrise. Packing lunches and brushing hair and pretending exhaustion was just another thing he could outwork. His wife, Rebecca, had died 3 years earlier from a sudden illness that left no time for goodbyes, only unanswered questions and a quiet house that never quite felt alive again. Since then, Aaron's world had narrowed to school drop-offs, construction shifts, grocery budgets, and the constant low-level fear of failing the one person who still looked at him like he was enough, his 8-year-old son, Noah. That evening had been particularly heavy. Noah had fallen asleep on the couch clutching his math workbook, frustration still etched into his brow. Aaron had carried him to bed, lingering longer than usual, watching his chest rise and fall, wondering how a child could trust so fully when the world had already taken so much from them. Alone again, Aaron had opened his phone, scrolling mindlessly, stopping on a contact he barely remembered saving. Miranda Shaw. Cold, brilliant, distant Miranda Shaw, the CEO of a logistics company Aaron's firm occasionally subcontracted for. She was known for sharp decisions and sharper boundaries, a woman who never wasted time or words. The text he sent was impulsive, born from loneliness and fatigue, a playful message meant for a dating app draft he never finished deleting. The realization of his mistake came seconds later, followed by a rush of shame so strong it made his hands tremble. He imagined her dismissing him, maybe laughing, maybe reporting him. He typed an apology, erased it, typed again, erased it again. Before he could decide on anything, there was a message saying she was nearby and needed to see him. 5 minutes later, the knock came. Miranda stood on his porch in a dark coat, city confidence clashing with the modest neighborhood behind her. The porch light caught her face, revealing something softer than Aaron expected, something tired and human beneath the polished exterior. She had driven from a corporate dinner, heels swapped for flats in her car, curiosity overpowering annoyance. She had spent years building walls so high that even she forgot what was on the other side. That text, absurd and vulnerable, had slipped through a crack she didn't know existed. Inside the house, the air was thick with unfinished life. Toys tucked into corners, family photos still hanging, dust on shelves that once held plans. Miranda saw it all, and for the first time in a long while, she didn't feel like she was looking down from somewhere above. She felt like she was standing beside someone who had been quietly drowning while still showing up every day. Aaron tried to explain without defending himself, his words clumsy, his embarrassment raw. He wasn't trying to impress her, he was just tired of being invisible. Miranda listened, truly listened, something she rarely allowed herself to do. Her own life, successful by every measurable standard, was painfully empty in the ways no quarterly report could capture. She had sacrificed relationships, weekends, and softness to stay in. Control. Believing vulnerability was a liability. Standing in that small living room, she realized how lonely power could be when there was no one to share the silence with. She saw in Aaron a strength that didn't need an audience, a man who kept going not because it was easy, but because someone depended on him. They talked long past the moment when either of them expected to still be standing there, not in dramatic confessions, but in careful truths, laid down slowly like fragile glass. Noah stirred once from his room, and Aaron froze, instinctively protective, but Miranda only smiled gently, the kind of smile that comes from understanding without explanation. Something shifted then. not into romance, but into recognition. Two people acknowledging the weight the other carried. Over the weeks that followed, their lives crossed again, deliberately this time. Miranda found excuses to visit the site Aaron worked on, staying longer than necessary, asking questions she already knew the answers to just to hear him talk. Aaron found himself standing a little straighter, not because he wanted her approval, but because someone finally saw him. There were setbacks, misunderstandings born from their different worlds, moments where Aaron worried he would always be a temporary detour in her fast-moving life, and moments where Miranda feared she didn't know how to slow down enough to stay. Change didn't come all at once. It came in small choices. Miranda leaving meetings early to make it to a school play. Aaron allowing himself to dream beyond survival. Noah laughing more freely, sensing the shift before either adult could name it. Pain didn't disappear. Rebecca's memory still lived in the quiet hours, and Miranda's past sacrifices didn't magically undo themselves. But something new grew alongside the grief, something patient and real. One evening, months later, Aaron stood on the same porch, watching Miranda and Noah argue playfully over which ice cream flavor was best, and he felt a strange mix of gratitude and disbelief. All of this had started with a mistake, a moment of carelessness that could have ended in humiliation. Instead, it became a doorway. How many moments like that pass us by because we're too afraid to open the door? Before the story ends, take a moment and tell us in the comments what you would have done if you were standing on that porch, heart racing, unsure whether to hide or to hope. In the end, life didn't reward Aaron and Miranda for being perfect. It met them where they were broken and willing. Sometimes second chances don't arrive wrapped in certainty or comfort. Sometimes they knock when the dishes are still in the sink and your heart is still healing. If this story stirred something in you, if it reminded you of a moment you almost ignored or a door you're still afraid to open, please like, comment, share, and subscribe, but only if it truly touched your heart and made you believe, even just a little, in the quiet power of unexpected grace.